What's going on, YouTube? RDAP Dan here, Federal Prison Time Consulting. It is Monday night, and I hope you all are having an amazing start to your week. We're in the judge-free zone today, so I decided to, I'm wearing a tank top. It's been a long day, had a lot going on, and I don't feel like getting dressed up for YouTube right now. So I apologize. You're going to have to deal with my sloppy behavior. No judging, though. All right, guys, we'll give you guys a few minutes to join us, jump in the room. We have already an awesome... Joe has given us a $10 donation, which we'll be able to use for one of our less fortunate clients or less fortunate viewers that might have a loved one that's incarcerated right now that could use a couple extra bucks, buy some coffee, maybe buy some commissary, some stamps, hygiene products. You never know. $10 goes a long way in prison when you don't have any money. Joe also happens to be a client, so we really appreciate the donation, Joe. And then we also have another gentleman joining us tonight. Make sure I'm reading everybody's reviews here. Okay, just make sure I'm catching up here. Aaron, welcome, Aaron. How are you doing tonight? Aaron is a potential client who's thinking about using our services, and I hope we can help you out, Aaron, of course. And John, welcome. Exterior Pro Services, what's going on? From Tampa, all right. All the way, I was just in Tampa last weekend. Not last weekend, but the weekend before that. And John Paul, welcome. So we'll give you guys a few more minutes to join us. Tonight's topics, we're talking about, prison preparation obstacles, the obstacles that you deal with preparing to go to prison. And those of you that are preparing to go to prison, you know what obstacles I'm talking about. There's anxiety, there's sleepless nights, you have depression, fear of the unknown, and the last thing on this list that you shouldn't have to worry about that becomes a major obstacle for more people than not when they're facing a federal prison sentence is attorney accountability, or the lack of an effective attorney ineffectiveness, whatever you want to call it. So if you don't know how to hold your attorney accountable, there's so many things that can happen in your situation, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later in this video. Actually, one of our clients, over this last couple of days, he was supposed to surrender to prison yesterday. Did I say happy Monday? I apologize, guys. It's Tuesday. My days are all screwed up. He was supposed to surrender to prison on Monday, and he asked his attorney to put in for an extension 3 weeks ago to extend his self-surrender date. We helped him prepare the letter that's to be filed in the motion, and he found out on Friday that his attorney had not done anything, had not asked the judge, had not submitted a motion. So scrambling around on Friday, and you're already dealing with so much unneeded anxiety, stress, family problems. He has a very sick mother. All of these issues are already at high alert. And then to find out your high-priced private defense attorney didn't do their job and they're making excuses, it creates so much unneeded stress, anxiety, and it really does add to the whole mental health awareness issue. Many of you think you don't have mental health issues, but when you're preparing for a federal prison sentence, and unless you've been to prison before or you have a real good idea of where you're going, you know exactly what to expect. Most of you do not. Most of you have no idea where you're going. Most of you have no idea what to expect. Most of you have these irrational fears, which are actually, it's a very rational process to have an irrational thought of what prison's going to be like, because your comparables are what you see on TV, right? What you see on TV, what you hear on the news, and it's usually scary, violent nature that we would not want to be involved in. So because of that, the last thing you should have to worry about is your attorney doing their job. And we are taking some shameless plugs here, guys. This is the reason why we're posting this video, is if you're unsure if hiring a prison consultant is for you, listen to the story that I'm going to be sharing with you today. And this story 100% can be verified. Listen to the story that we're going to share with you a little bit later in the episode. It's only going to be about a 30-minute video today, guys, so hang with us. Don't run off yet. But let's talk about anxiety a little bit. Most of you the anxiety comes from all of these built-in fears. The anxiety comes from, as a human, we don't really know what to expect when we're getting ready to go into uncharted territory. You start a new job, your first day at school, there's anxiety there, but you have something to relate it to. You've had a first day at school before, you've had first days at work before, so even though you still have this anxious thought process behind it, you have something to attach it to. You've actually got visuals, you have sensations that you can relate to. Getting ready to go to prison, not many of you that are watching my channel really can relate to anything other than what we spoke about already, the unknown of what you see on TV. You know it's not going to be like that, but because you really have never seen the inside of a federal prison, you can only imagine. It's like your mind is just building out this universe that may be reality, it might not be reality, and somewhere in the middle is what you're really going to be dealing with. It can be the absolute most stressful period of the entire process. Going to prison, I know it's hard to hear right now, and if somebody would have told me, hey Dan, going to federal prison is going to be the easy part, you're actually not going to have that bad of a time. You're going to meet some really interesting individuals, and when I say interesting, I mean from both sides of the spectrum. You're going to meet some guys that are like, holy shit, they need to be in prison. They're not done yet. They've got another few bids in them. They're going to get out and create more problems for themselves. They've still got the criminal mindset. And then you're going to meet individuals that are very, very inspirational. They're going to teach. They're going to be somebody that you're going to receive influence from. It may be somebody that you role model what you want to do after. And you're really going to kind of cling on to what these guys are doing with their time because it's the type of time that you want to do. They're going to be involved in the education classes. They're going to be involved in the fitness. They're not going to be engaged in pointless activities. And when I say pointless activities, fitness is not a pointless activity. Reading a fun book is not a pointless activity. Playing sports is not a pointless activity. A pointless activity is gambling, stealing chicken out of the chow hall because it's fun or you get a little rush out of it. Running hustles within the prison. It's all a waste of fucking time. And when you hear all of these, glorified prison channels that talk about the hustles and they talk about the prison yards and the violence and the gangs, I get it. You get a big following on YouTube because it's super interesting. I watch half the shit myself, but it's like it's my entertainment TV. I don't go to those channels to find out facts about prison. I go to those channels to hear a bunch of glorified, maybe they're real, maybe they're not. Sounds like it could be real. Did they really live through a lot of these stories? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. But the point is you don't want to spend your time in prison worrying about that or engaging in those type of activities or even looking for those type of activities. So the anxiety that you're dealing with right now, nothing I say or do is going to make that anxiety go away. However, our team of experts and what we do here at Federal Prison Time Consulting 100% can help you manage and process the anxiety so it's not building up and bursting out of every orifice of your body. The idea is to find manageable steps and putting positions into place that you can go from step A to step B and realize that yes, you want to get to the end. Yes, you have this major goal of getting out of prison sooner, getting out of prison with a new mindset. That's the goal that we're attaining for. But how do you get to that goal? It's by setting short-term goals, and each one of those goals is going to get you closer and closer to the main goal that you're trying to achieve. And we've talked about this over and over and over again. It does not happen overnight. Change is the process. It is not an immediate event. You have to realize that you need to ask for help. You are probably not the best person in the world right now to think you have your decisions under control. You need to challenge your thought process. And what does that mean? That means every time you think you have a rational thought, you need to really run that thought process through your mind. You need to say, okay, is this decision I'm getting ready to make? Is this choice that I'm thinking about making? Is it going to put me in a better spot in life? Is it going to put anybody I know in harm's way? Is it going to make me feel better about myself? You need to ask yourself some questions to hold yourself accountable. And if you answer no to those questions, if you're getting ready to make a decision that could potentially cause you harm or put you in a worse off situation or it has severe consequences, it may not be the right decision. Even though you really want to do it and you're really thinking right now this is the best decision, challenge your thoughts because your best thinking got you to where you are right now, right? Everybody thought they had all this shit under control. You thought everything was going great until you got that monstrous knock on your door or that boot kicking in your door or that target letter in your mail or that phone call saying, hey, you're a target of investigation, or hey, you're under arrest. You've been indicted. Tell us what you know. I'm not going to sit here and say you should go tell on somebody or you shouldn't tell on somebody. It's not my job. It's not my business what you're going to do. I'm telling you that if you are going to cooperate and you are going to tell them what they need to know about somebody else, You need to ask yourself, is telling them about this other person going to put your life or anybody else's life in danger, like your family? If it's not, you do what you got to do. I'm not here to judge you. There's plenty of other people out there that like to play the stitches get snitches, and half these people that don't take plea deals, or half these people that don't cooperate. If you dig into their paperwork and you look into their case, usually they're in a case by themselves, or there is nobody for them to cooperate against. There's usually, it's a lot easier to talk it and say that you would never do that. You hear all these people on the street say they would never cooperate. They would never have a 5K1. They would never do any of these things, but yet they've never been in that situation. Until you are, you don't know. So you're not to be judged, and don't worry about what somebody else thinks, because at the end of the day, most of you are going to a camp or a low where 5K1s do not bother you. Somebody asked in this video, who was it? I think it was Exterior Pro Service. He was asking, somebody was asking if you can walk the yard with a 5K1. Or are there special yards for somebody with a 5K1? There's no special yards, but depending on what custody level you're in, if you're in a camp or a low security prison, a 5K1, I mean, you're not going to walk around going, hey guys, I've got a 5K1. You don't want to wear it like a badge of honor. You're in prison. People are still going to look at you like you have three heads if you're walking around bragging about it, but your paperwork is not checked in a camp or a low security. You'll see sex offenders walking around in a low security, and they really don't have anything to worry about. So don't allow that to consume you too much. Focus on your case, focus on what's best for you and your family, and realize that if you're in that situation, you're thinking about cooperating, strongly realize right now that the criminal lifestyle is not for you. You shouldn't be in a life of crime if you really understand the consequences, which many of you are coming to grasps with the consequences because you're probably going to prison. That's why you're watching this video. So the anxiety of all of these unknowns, the fear, the depression, the sleepless nights, I remember the sleepless nights like they were yesterday. As a matter of fact, today, I was just getting ready to hop in the shower, and I heard a boom, boom, boom. And I thought it was my door. I jumped out of the shower, and the first thing I thought about was, I need to put a lot of clothes on right now, because if for some reason I'm getting arrested, I don't want to be taken out of my house in next to nothing. And if I'm going to be sitting in some kind of a holding cell for several hours, I want to be warm. It's very sad that thought process comes to my mind. I'm not a hardened criminal. I have not been in and out of the justice system. That's just the embedded mindset of PTSD, whatever you want to call it, but I hear it from everybody. And it wasn't even a knock at the door. It was Shelly trying to open, I don't know, a jar of something, and she was salsa. She was opening a jar of salsa, and she was pounding the salsa on the counter, and it sounded like a boom at the door. But those feelings resurface real fast. The sleepless nights, they're never going to completely go away, even when you get out of prison. There's going to be nights where you sleep much better, but those sleepless nights, you're always going to remember what you've been through. And even though you're not doing anything wrong in your existing life, many of you see how easy it is to get wrapped up in a federal indictment, a conspiracy charge. It doesn't take much. The wind could be blowing the wrong day. Most individuals that have never faced an indictment or faced criminal charges, it's not because they've never done anything to be in that situation. I'm sure there's some people that have walked a saint life, but most people just got lucky. They were never in the scope. They were never involved in something where an investigation was going on. They just dodged it and didn't even know maybe how close they came to getting ran over by that semi-truck called the feds. It can be the most intimidating, fearful thing that you will ever experience. Once you're in it, that's when you have to realize that what is the best course of action for you? How can you now mitigate the circumstance that you're in? How can you potentially reduce what type of time you're looking at? First, you have to be accepting of the fact that it's very likely you're going to go to prison. And until you crossed that threshold with admitting to yourself and dealing with the acceptance of the reality that you're in and admitting that, hey, okay, I'm going to prison. I understand that. You're going to accept that. You're going to be okay. You're going to be on a term with that where you're dealing with it. Doesn't mean you're happy about it, but you have to accept that in order to go to the next step. You can't think about what you can do to shorten your sentence when you can't gravitate the idea of actually going to prison. Those two it's like two magnets going polar opposites of each other. You first need to grab and admit it to yourself. All right, I'm going to federal prison, but how long am I going to go for? These are my guidelines. This is what I'm looking at. My plea deal, my cooperation, whatever it is, these are the reductions that I might get. What can I do above and beyond that to reduce my sentence? And this brings me to the real reason why I wanted to do this video today. we want to talk about holding your attorney accountable. And we have a gentleman that is been a client of ours for a little while now. And when he called me, one of the first things he said to me on the phone when he wanted to hire us, I said, well, what benefits do you want to get from us? How do you think that we can help you versus what you're already dealing with? And what are you willing to do to make this happen? And what he said was, I feel orphaned by my attorney. Now, I've heard a lot of people say my attorney leaves me high and dry. My attorney doesn't answer calls. My attorney doesn't really give me the time of day. My attorney makes me feel like I'm bothering every time I call him. I hear that all of the time. But the term orphaned, it's a strong term. And when you really think about it, many of you have probably felt orphaned one time or another from your attorneys. And what this comes from, and I don't know for sure, but I have to imagine that when this person decided to become an attorney, when they decided, hey, I'm going to be a criminal defense attorney, I want to help people. I want to preserve justice. I want to give people justice. I want to make sure somebody has a voice when they don't know what to do. I want to give somebody the ability to sleep a little bit better, to know somebody's there for them. I don't know if they forgot that or that was never their intent or what happened, but somewhere along the line, a lot of these attorneys have turned that switch off. So let me tell you the story. Let me tell you what happened. So the client that hired us, one of the things that he wanted to do is he wanted to get an extension. He wanted to get an extension on his self-surrender. He's got a very, very sick mother, and they're trying to find out what her situation is going to be. She's possibly going to die from cancer. It's a very horrible situation that nobody wants to go through. Forget about adding on the fact that you might have to go to prison and be incarcerated when your mother or any other loved one passes away. Nobody wants to go through that. But the circumstance that he has, which is a little bit unique, is there's actual prognosis from doctors stating, hey, there's a process that might extend her life a little while, or it might not, but we're not going to know until January. Well, he was supposed to surrender yesterday on Monday. So there's a good chance that he could find out while he's in prison that, hey, sorry, nothing's going to work and you're going to be in prison very likely when your mother passes. So we thought, and everybody thought, it was best. His attorney said, yeah, we should be able to get an extension on this. 3 weeks, plenty of time. 3 weeks, we helped him prepare a narrative. We collected doctor's notes. We went through everything, really building the best case to show prosecution that, hey, we're not just trying to stall. We're not just trying to buy time. Same thing, trying to explain to the judge, you're just not trying to buy time. These letters and how you prepare this and how the motion is written that's going to be asking for an extension, it's very important that you take it real serious, or it could, because everybody tries to get an extension. Everybody says, their kids, their mother, this, that. So you need to have verification. You need to do your due diligence. You need to bring in homework. You need to know exactly what it is, what you're planning for. So we did all of this. We prepped. We prepared. We did everything that could be done. Gave it to the client. Client passed it on to his attorney. 3 weeks notice. Plenty of time. Well, I get a call Friday. Client tells me he's buying his plane ticket, getting ready. I'm thinking, oh, you must have got denied, which was kind of mind-boggling with all of these reasons to give an extension. You don't very often see a judge deny that. You'd have to be a cold, heartless, to deny somebody when there's severe issues going on, and you're not a flight risk, you're not a hardened criminal, you're not a violent criminal, you're not a danger to society. What's an extra month and a half, 2 months going to hurt? You're still going to go do your time, right? 99% of the time, it's a green light. Well, in this situation, he calls me up to tell me he's purchased his plane ticket. He lives in Hawaii. He's got to travel, get hotels, bring in his family to say goodbye. It's a big ordeal. And I'm like, well, why did you get denied? He says, well, my attorney never asked. He's working on it right now, Friday in the afternoon. And you're going to surrender on Monday. Courts are closed on the weekend. I mean, it's foolish. It's complete laziness, complete lack of professional expertise from the attorney. He should have known better. Apparently, this attorney's been an attorney for 30 or 40 years. Definitely, this isn't his first go-around. He just did not care about the client's situation, which means if he doesn't care about this situation, what situation does he care about? So we gave the client some ideas. We helped him. We updated his letter. He doesn't even live on the island where he got sentenced out of, so it's not like he can just walk into the courthouse and file anything. He had to have a cousin in a different island. We had to get all these letters prepared. We were going to have his cousin walk in. In the meantime, I decided to call the attorney's office myself. And I spoke to the secretary. He's out of the office for the weekend. but I'll give him your message on Monday. I said, well, Monday's going to be too late. It sounds like there was a mishap at the office, and it sounds like the ball was dropped just a little bit by the attorney. Gave the explanation. She said, I'll pass your message along. In the meantime, we're moving forward on what we're going to try to do to help him get the extension still, which we've done this several times when an attorney did not do it in time. We've had clients go down and file it on their own where we prepared them with everything they need to walk in with. So that was going to be the plan of action here. As much of a struggle as it was, that was the plan we were going to do with the client. Well, 3/4 of the way through this, it's about 3 o'clock in the afternoon East Coast time, about 6 in the evening East Coast time, which was like noon Hawaii time, I believe 6-hour difference. Get a phone call from the attorney's secretary wanting to know, am I a family member? I said, no. I'm a prison consultant that the client hired me to assist with some of the other loose ends that attorneys don't typically deal with. Not trying to offend the attorney, not trying to step on his toes, not trying to do his job, but here we are doing his job in the final hour. 4th down, is a million yards to go, and it's not looking good. So she gets me on the phone. Mysteriously, the attorney's in the office all of a sudden. Hours have gone by. And the attorney says, I've been in contact with the prosecutors. They're going to grant this. And I was like, so why is your client under the impression that nothing has been done? And why is he just finding this out midday, Friday, when there's really no time left to do anything? So my personal belief is this attorney realized that the client was about to go down there. And in the letter that we had prepared, it was well spelled out that this is given to the attorney weeks ago, and the attorney didn't file it because we did not want the judge to think, why did we wait till the last second? We were making it very clear that the attorney was the bozo in this instance here. So the attorney gets on the phone with me and asks me who I am, what do I do? I tell him I'm a prison consultant. He says, what does that entail? I tell him we help everybody from understanding the qualifications to RDAP, narratives, reference letters. And he goes, well, that sounds like a waste of money. And I mean, what are you going to say? Well, why is that, sir? RDAP is all based on a judge's recommendation. I've been doing this 30 years. And it was like, I wish I had the call recorded because I 100% would share it with you guys. As you know, most of you should know by now if you've watched my channel, a judge's recommendation doesn't mean diddly squat. It's based on your pre-sentence interview. It's based on your substance abuse, whether it's drinking, alcohol, prescription pills, marijuana, whatever it might be. And it's based on that being explained during the pre-sentence interview. And it needs to take place 12 months prior to the arrest for the instant offense. So if you developed a drug habit after your indictment, you're not going to qualify. If you were a drug addict years ago and you've been clean the last several years prior to the 12 months of your indictment, you're not going to qualify. So many of you do not disclose this information. We've heard horror story after horror story where, RDAP Dan, I wish I'd seen your video sooner. My attorney didn't tell me any of this information, and I thought if I disclosed this information during the pre-sentence interview, somehow it was going to get me in more trouble. It was going to have the judge view me in a poor light. It was going to potentially get me remanded. All of these, again, irrational thoughts flood through someone's mind, and it's a very rational reason because you don't know what to expect. It's supposed to be your attorney that guides you through this. So needless to say, the guy got the extension. He's out right now, and he's probably watching the channel right now because he knows this video is about him. And I wish I could say that this was a rare instance. I wish I could say that, thank God, most attorneys don't do this. If most attorneys didn't do this, I would not have a career in what I have in. And I wish I didn't have a career in this. I wish there was no need for this. I wish the criminal justice system was equally accountable to attorneys, to judges, to prosecutors. I wish there was some way to really hold them accountable. And many of you will say, yeah, well, you can file a complaint with the board or you can do this. That doesn't change the fact. Once the damage is done, the damage is done. If you didn't get the help early on and you're finding out about things at the last hour, there's only so much one can do. So guys, you have to be able to understand how to hold your attorney accountable from the beginning. Part of our service is to be there when you need something. It's to answer a call or a text message when there's an emergency or a midday or midnight or mid-morning, whatever it might be, a holiday. Something happens, you can't just turn off life. I was in your shoes. I understand exactly what it is you're going through. If you don't think narratives are going to matter, if you don't think reference letters are going to matter, if you don't think preparing properly for the PSR interview is going to matter, if you don't think community involvement in a very specific roadmapped process matters, you're lying to yourself. You're justifying reasons to not get off your ass and do what needs to get done. We've got some clients that are so proactive. They take every step that we give them. They run with it. They return reports to us. They answer the questions we have. They fill out questionnaires. They get it back to us ASAP. And then we have other clients that you need to really get their engine started, or else they tend to just fall back to the wayside and waiting for a magic wand or a pill to be shoved up their ass that's going to make everything better for them. You guys got to realize that this requires hard work and effort from you. You have to convey to us what your problems are, what your issues are, and we start giving you problem-solving solutions, and we start giving you reasons to focus on the solution and not the problem. You have to move forward with that. You can't just say, great call, I'm going to go sit and do nothing and wait for the next pep talk where I feel better for 15 minutes and then I do nothing. You have to use the whole motto of pain versus pleasure. What do I mean by that? I don't mean getting punched in the face hurts and getting a back rub feels good. I'm talking about pain versus pleasure when it comes to choices and decisions and actions. So the pain of doing things that are uncomfortable, the pain of getting involved in your community, the pain of taking it serious and really setting down the time, working on your narrative, the pain of going through questions with what is going to be involved in the PSR interview, what can give me an opportunity to stand out above the average person that's in a similar situation to me. That's a painful process because you haven't done it before and you're going to uncharted territories. But that short-term pain can be engulfed by the enormous amount of pleasure that comes from the feeling of achievement that you get from knowing you did everything within your power to receive the best possible outcome, to receive the shortest sentence, to receive the best prison, to receive the potential of getting into RDAP, to receive the potential of additional halfway house, early termination off of supervised release, understanding what you're doing. And you know what? You might do everything that we say, and you might do it better than anybody has ever done it, and you still might get royally beat up by the judge and get a sentence that you weren't hoping for. But what you're not going to do is you're not going to be sitting in your bunk 2 months from now going, fuck, what could I have done differently? You're going to have that thought process of, I wish I did it differently. Where you're going to have that voice in your head going, I told you so, I told you so. And you might still be in that broken ass victim mentality mode where you're still blaming everybody else for your shitty circumstance. Well, if so-and-so didn't tell on me, if I had a better attorney, if the judge didn't hate me, if the prosecutor wasn't out to blow up his career, that's always going to be the case. The only variable you have that you have control over are your choices and your actions. You can't dictate the final outcome. You can only create influence. And if you're not creating influence for the outcome that you want, you're going to get the outcome that you deserve. I promise. I got the outcome I deserved. My plea deal was for 60 months. I got 42 months. Pretty much everybody in my case got the same sentence, minor than a couple of other individuals that had minor roles like Shelley and some others that got shorter sentences. I did nothing to mitigate my sentence. I didn't work on my narrative. I got blessed with my attorney whispering in my ear during the pre-sentence interview when they asked me, do you have a substance abuse problem? And just like so many of you, I wanted to look like this perfect saint, thinking that's what they want to see. Of course not, sir. Never used drugs, never drank a drop of alcohol in my life. My attorney said, can I talk to my client for a second, Mr. Probation Officer? My attorney took me outside, said, all right, Dan, I don't know much about this RDAP program. I don't even think he called it RDAP. I think he said, I don't know much. There's a drug program in prison. You told me that you smoked weed and you drank on the weekends and that you were, a partier on the weekends and that you smoked weed almost daily before bed. How come you're not telling the probation officer that? And I'm like, I don't want to get in trouble for it. He's like, you can't get in trouble for it. This is prior to your arrest, prior to getting indicted. This is years later. You're doing the PSR. You need to tell them that because there is a program that it might be able to knock some time off. I'm not sure, but I do know if you don't tell them the truth right now, it's going to fucking hurt you. So I was like, oh, okay. So we went back in, and my attorney said he needs to come clean about something that he was afraid to tell you. Go ahead, Mr. Wise. And I told him. I told him the truth. I got an RDAP because of that. I knocked a year off my sentence because of that. I learned some amazing tools And I learned so much about myself in this 10-month intense program, Cognitive Behavior Therapy, the most intense 10 months of my entire life. Can't stress it, can't explain it, but I'm telling you, it's not a walk in the park. You're not just going to go in there and get a quick year or 9 months or 6 months off. You got to work for it. Bottom line is because I got that last minute bit of information, my sentence went from 42 months to 13 months in prison. I received 11 months federal halfway house. Very similar to how we help many of you get additional halfway house. We've got the First Step Act now that's behind us that is really going to start pushing and prodding for some additional halfway house. Extra earn time credits when it comes to pre-release credits for programming. We've got options now that didn't exist when I was in prison or when so many other people were in prison. It's going to take some while for these programs to roll out and make sense, but they are there. So what are you doing right now? When somebody calls up and says, yeah, I'm interested in your services, and we go through everything, how much is it? Can range anywhere from $4 to $7 grand, somewhere in the neighborhood, depending on what you need. And then you start going, well, it's a lot of money. Now I get it. Some of you don't have $5 to your name, and $4 grand might as well be $4 million. And I wish we could do it for cheaper. I really do. But we do have such an intense program that we involve people in, and the amount of work and people that are behind the scenes just can't. So I get it. Some of you can't afford it, but we try to be flexible with people. We put you on payment plans. We make it affordable if we can. You've got to be willing to work for it, though. You've got to see the value. If we have people that I believe can definitely afford it, and when they choose not to, what I'm hearing them saying is they're not willing to put in the investment. They're not willing to put in the work, that they think, I've got this. I already know what you do. I can do this on my own. And hey, more power to you. Maybe you'll get lucky. Maybe it'll work for you. I got lucky. I served 13 months out of 42. But I'm telling you, there was a lot of luck that was at play there. A whole lot of luck. It happened to be around the time when the 2-point reduction for the nonviolent drug offense came down, where they were given additional halfway house time. There was more halfway houses. There was a bigger halfway house budget. So we don't see that just given as much as we used to. You have to create the distance and the separation from yourself and the average person. Starting with holding your attorney accountable from the beginning is going to get you much more engaged in your process. So I hope this video makes sense to you. So let's go check out some comments and questions that we got here. All right, what did I miss here? Can community service or things like that before sentencing help reduce further? Absolutely. That was a question from Question DVP. I'm not sure if you're still there. He asked, can community service or things like that before sentencing help reduce further? It's not going to change your guidelines, but when you have a judge that has the ability to, it's just a recommended guideline range, like you don't have a minimum mandatory, it's up to the judge. Sometimes the judge will stick right in those guidelines, but the judge has the ability to go below those guidelines. He can also go above the guidelines if he wants to. But what are you doing to give the judge a reason to want to give you less time? I can tell you that simple-minded, common community service, everyday community service like feeding the homeless or picking up garbage at a park, probably not going to help you a whole lot just because everybody tries that. There are some very specific techniques that come with our services when we build out the roadmap that we've seen create additional traction on building community involvement. You don't so much get community service hours because it might not be pegged as a community service, but what you're doing is so much more valuable than just basic community service. It's practicing humility, humbling yourself, and it's doing it in front of an audience. So we have some great techniques. We've created some great overviews, some drafts that we can pass on to many of you that you can use this same motto. We help you create the outline of what you're going to do, create the from A to Z, can make a huge difference in your sentencing. The life coaching with Jenny, the mindset coaching with Jenny, showing your character flaws, showing where your mindset went wrong, showing what you've learned from the situation, creating the weekly communication with her where she can actually create a report that's given to your attorney. In return, your attorney uses it in his sentencing memo that goes to the judge that, again, creates distance from what the average person does. And it can really articulate not just that you're sorry for what you did, but illustrating what changes you've made and what you've learned from this process. That's really what the judge wants your takeaway to be. That's why the judge feels you need prison time, is they want you to learn from your mistakes so you don't do it again. So if you can do your best with outside help in illustrating what you've learned from this mistake, it kind of offsets what the judge thinks he might need to do, because you've demonstrated a whole lot of learning versus what the average person does when they go in there. I'm sorry to my victims. I won't do it again. I have sick kids at home. I have a mother at home that needs my help. I'm the breadwinner of the family. I climb up trees and help cats on the weekends, and I go to church, and I've donated all my money. Nobody gives a shit about you donating your money. That's easy. If you're wealthy and you're well off and you go donate some money thinking that's going to wash it away, you're not Felicity Huffman, okay? That's all I got to say about that. Joe Jen, thank you. I appreciate it. If I could do it all over again, I would have hired Dan first, then my attorney. True story. I appreciate that, Joe. Much appreciated. Angel, I surrendered to Latuna, FCI. I am in Cali. I just called them to ask about RDAP. I have 48 months left, and the officer said, you don't have enough. The officer is an idiot. You need 24 months remaining to take RDAP. I don't know why the officer doesn't know jack about RDAP. I'm not going to say all officers, because you guys have seen Anthony Ganji from Tier Talk. He's somebody that is really trying to bridge the gap. But when you get an officer that says statements like that, they're trying to create extra stress and anxiety in your life. That's all they're doing. They're talking out the side of their face. They don't know what they're talking about. 48 months. I had 42 months. I got RDAP. Trust me, 48 months is plenty of time. Yep, mitigation is the biggest part to sentencing. My lawyer had a SoCal gang expert do a report on growing up around gangs. Stuff like that is great. You know, if you're an ex-gang member, you know, truth be told, if you have some kind of like a violent past or really, really, truly hard upbringing, like a poor upbringing, you lived in very poverty-stricken areas, you were selling drugs, you were in and out of crime, you've never really held a real job, that actually goes to benefit for you when you're getting ready to get sentenced, because you've never had an opportunity, at least not one that was really truly presented, where if you're a white-collar criminal, individual, person, white-collar crime, most individuals were doing pretty good. They didn't have to break the law to maintain. They either got greedy or they got involved in something that they didn't realize was breaking the law in an aspect that you could go to prison. I see a lot of white-collar like tax crimes where you weren't trying to it was defrauding the government. You made more money. You're like, shit, I can't afford all these taxes. I'm going to tell them I made a little bit less. And you get wrapped up in tax evasion. I can tell you guys right now, I'm not a tax attorney, but I can tell you, I've never seen somebody go to prison for not paying their taxes. I see people go to prison for not reporting their taxes. If you can't afford to pay your taxes, report them. Just report your taxes and put yourself on a payment plan with the government. You might be paying it forever, but they're not going to come and get you if you're making an attempt. You stop making an attempt and you try diverting the government, then yeah, they're going to come slap some cuffs on you and throw you in federal prison for a little while. So guys, here is a link right here. If you want to book a consultation with yours truly, RDAP Dan, Daniel Wise, there's a link I just posted in the live chat right now. It's also in the description of this video if you're watching this on replay later on. If you haven't done so, please, guys, subscribe to my channel, share. And again, Joe gave us a $10 donation at the beginning of the video. We weren't even on yet, and donation came through. Next time, Joe, you got to wait till the room fills up so people do that. And they're like, oh, well, Joe did it. I got to do it. Guys, those donations don't go to me. I mean, they go to my account, but we don't use that money for anything personal. That money, and you guys, we've showed you the videos, we've sent you the messages. We give that money to individuals that are either in prison, getting ready to go to prison, that don't have anything. We get emails every day from family members going, can you help my family? Is there anything you can do? Are there any organizations out there that help? I've got a loved one that can't afford soap. He can't afford deodorant. Yes, they give you soap. Yes, they give you deodorant in prison. They'll give you the free government stuff. But I will tell you firsthand experience, I thought to myself, because I had money when I was in prison. I had family sending me money. I went into prison with a little bit of money, so I wasn't hurting for money. But I thought, why not save some money? They're going to give me deodorant. Deodorant's deodorant. I don't need, expensive deodorant. The deodorant they gave me, when I would put it on, the reaction I had with it was so bad. It would burn, like my armpits were on fire. I had to walk around like that everywhere I went. And a lot of people experienced that same effect from the government deodorant. Same thing from the government soap. So I don't know what's in it. too much alcohol or something, but there's people in there that can't use it, and they don't want to walk around stinky. Does 5K1 affect minimum mandatories? It can in some cases. Question. I would need to know more about your situation, and I understand you don't want to post it here in the live stream. Here's the link again for consultation's free. Book a consultation. You get 15 minutes of my time, and I'll spend the 15 minutes trying to tell you why you should give me all your money, but I'll give you some advice, and I can give you some insight in the meantime. At least I don't lie about it, right? What's going on tomorrow? Tamara McCall has been a client of ours for a very long time. Not her, but her son has been a client of ours for a very long time. She's like our Wikipedia. She does all the research and finds us awesome information. We've done many videos based on Tamara's input. But guys, it's real important that you understand, if you didn't take anything from this video, what you need to take from it is, don't sit by like a dum-dum thinking your attorney is doing everything in your best interest, because that's what he should be doing. That's what he signed an oath saying he was going to doing. That's why he's a licensed attorney, because he agreed to do that. But the common practice is not quite that. And I hate saying that because maybe attorneys don't want to refer me business. I do tell you, I get quite a bit of business from a few attorneys that really have grasped our concept and really benefit and realize the advantage of having us with them. There's so many things attorney just can't do. Attorney hasn't been to prison. They don't know ins and out about RDAP. Clearly, I got into a heated texting battle with an attorney who told me that all matters is he gets a judge's recommendation. So you got to know your audience, guys. You got to know what you're dealing with. You got to know what you're trying to do, what you want to get out of this. And I tell you, make a chart, use an Excel spreadsheet, get yourself a whiteboard, write it on it, use your phone, make yourself a list of what are you willing to do. If you're looking at this much time, what can you do to mitigate? What can go below that? Don't just think because you have a guideline range, that's what they have to sentence you to, unless you have a minimum mandatory. If you don't have a minimum mandatory, you should be shooting for the stars and trying to get as close as you can to possible to create that outcome. And that's what our team does. If you haven't had an opportunity to have a conversation with our life coach, mindset coach, Jenny, who also oversees all of the narrative and character reference letter preparation, we don't create narratives and reference letters out of thin air. We have a detailed questionnaire that goes to you that you fill out. And then based on your answers, we're able to go in and articulate your story in a much more coherent and aligned with what the judge needs to see versus what you think the judge wants to see. Again, don't think you are going to be the best person to dictate what a good narrative should or shouldn't be. I don't care if you're a writer. I don't care if you write novels for a living. I don't care if you wrote 1 million papers. Unless you've dealt with the criminal justice system and unless you understand what that judge has seen 1 million times prior to you coming in there, the things that he's read, if you think your story is so different and you think you have a situation where you're special, or the judge is going to see you're a really good person and the universe is going to come in and magically correct itself and go, oh no, you don't need to go to prison. You're a good person. It doesn't work that way. In the perfect world, someday maybe. But that's it. That's all I got for you guys. Todd's doing great, by the way, Kevin. Kevin's asking about Todd Hansen, who is one of our first clients, who we did a lot of videos with. We were very blessed for Todd to be so forthcoming on wanting to be on video and wanting to share his story. And he was looking at 30 years. He had a plea deal for 17 years. And because of the work and his effort and our effort combined, he ended up receiving a much shorter sentence. What did Todd receive? I forgot now. It was like 9 years or something like that. Still a chunk of time. He's been gone 2.5, 3 years now. Another 2.5, 3 years. Todd's going to be back on camera talking about his experience. I think he's at Lompoc right now. He's at Lompoc camp, I believe, or Low maybe. But anyway, guys, that's all I got for you. I hope you enjoyed this content in this video, and I hope you keep an eye on. We've got a new channel that we're going to be launching. We really want to focus on entrepreneurs who want to make a difference with their life. There will be some focus on the prison system because obviously a lot of people getting out of prison, that's one of their biggest fears. That was one of my biggest fears. But there's so many amazing entrepreneurs in the world, aspiring entrepreneurs, successful entrepreneurs who probably shouldn't be an entrepreneur, to be honest. So we want to exploit that and expose that and bring that content to you guys. So stay tuned for a new YouTube channel that will be coming to you real soon. We're going to be focusing on the entrepreneur lifestyle in South Florida. All right, guys, I'm RDAP Dan, Federal Prison Time Consulting. People helping people, communities method, one day at a time. As always, I love every single one of you guys. And if you didn't give me a thumbs up on this channel, show some love. Give you like 20 more seconds to do a thumbs up before you bounce. Give me that thumbs up, like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Come check us out on social media. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, all those places. Not as busy as we should be, but nonetheless, we're there. Tomorrow, great night to you too. Love you guys. I'll talk to you soon, and I am out of here. Peace, guys.